At the start of your career, hard work is everything. You grind, you hustle, you reply to every single email, say yes to every opportunity, and take pride in how much work you're getting done. You right there, my friend, are the operator guy, the one making things happen, executing every detail, pushing every task across the finishing line. But then something happens. You get promoted, you start a business, and you finally reach the level where you're supposed to be more strategic. And suddenly, your old mindset of working harder isn't the key to success anymore. It's the very thing holding you back now. Yes, I understand this is painful, but it is necessary at this point to transition from the operator guy to the idea guy. And that's exactly what we're going to be unpacking today. We'll look at why high performers struggle to let go of grunt work, even when they don't have to do it anymore. And we'll also look at how this idea of conspicuous busyness tricks us into thinking that we're being more productive. We'll also look at why stepping back and doing less can actually make you more effective, and how to make that mental shift from just getting stuff done to actually moving the needle in your life and career. So if you've ever felt guilty for slowing down, okay, or if you've built your identity around being the hardest worker in the room, like Dwayne Johnson, if you know, you know, then this episode is for you, my friend. So, welcome back to Decoding Wisdom, guys. I'm your host, Sachin Jha, and this podcast is all about blending ancient philosophies with modern insights to help both me and you live high performing and meaningful lives. And yes, the hat game is still going. Still need to get those hair sorted out. But in today's episode, it's all about evolving from the workhorse to actually becoming the visionary. And this is something every high performer will eventually face. The shift from grinding out every detail to stepping back and focusing on the big picture things. Just like how Jim and Michael Scott did in The Office. And it's tough. Well, not for them, but for us, obviously. Because for years, we've been rewarded for being the hardest worker. The one who puts in the most hours, the one who's always switched on. But what if the same work ethic is now capping our potential? Have you ever thought of it that way? And that's what we're going to explore today. So if you're ready to shift your mindset and truly level up, my friend, let's dive right in. So let's start with the real issue here. Why do high achievers struggle to let go of doing everything? And upon rigorous thinking, here's what I've come up with. Well, firstly, we built our identity around our work rate. So when you've spent years being praised for grinding harder than everyone else, it's hard to step back because it becomes muscle memory at that point. That becomes the new norm. That work efficiency rate is the new norm for you. Then it's about the fact that we equate busy to being productive. So busy feels productive, even when it's not. It's easy to measure how many emails you've sent or meetings you've attended, but it's much harder to measure strategic thinking or big picture vision. You know what I mean? And then there's this concept of the fear of being irrelevant. When you stop doing the daily grind, you might feel like you're no longer valuable. So when you've spent years training yourself to handle every little task, stepping back can sometimes feel like slacking off. Even if you're finally in a position where your job isn't to do more, but to think better. Following me? Which leads us into this debate of conspicuous busyness versus quiet effectiveness. And one of the biggest traps we fall into is this thing called conspicuous busyness. This is the kind of work that looks productive. So, like your packed calendars, endless meetings, always being on, if that makes sense. But all you consulting folks will get that. But that actually doesn't move the mission forwards. Think about it. If the best thing for your success was taking a walk on the beach and reflecting on your next move, would you actually do it? Or would you feel guilty because you weren't at your laptop grinding through emails or PowerPoints, I guess. So we often associate working hard with a tangible output, even when the best thing we can do is actually pause and think. But nobody gives you a gold star for quietly reflecting on strategy, do they? So then, how do you make that shift from the operator guy to the idea guy, or the guy that just does everything, to the big picture guy? Here's what I've condensed it into. First is you need to realize that working hard is now your enemy. That the same grind that got you here might be the same thing holding you back now, which is why you feel stuck. Second is that we need to start measuring success differently. So, what I mean by that is instead of tracking hours worked, track progress towards meaningful goals. And meaningful goals being something that provides more impact. So, usually it's from a strategic standpoint. Third is delegate even when it feels wrong. Because if you're still doing things that someone else could do, you're robbing yourself of time that you could really use for strategy or thinking. And when I say thinking, this leads me into another one, the fourth point, which is create time to think for yourself. Call it thinking time and protect it. So make space for reflection, even if it feels like you're doing nothing, because some of the best ideas often come from stillness. And I preach this a lot these days where, let's say, ideas for podcasts or to make the podcast grow, I usually go to cafes and I don't listen to music. I'm not on my phone. I'm just sipping coffee in my hand and just thinking, just being still. And it's so surprising how creative you suddenly become. So here's what I want you guys to do now. Identify one area of your work or even your life where you're still grinding when you don't really have to. Then I want you to ask yourself, if I stop doing this right now, would it really matter? And then replace it with something of a higher value. Maybe thinking time in this case, maybe time to plan, or just some sort of a creative strategy. So, what's the biggest takeaway? Well, if you're serious about leveling up, you sometimes have to let go of the grind. Again, sometimes, not always. Hard work has gotten you to where you are, but it won't take you to the next level. And the best CEOs, founders, leaders, they aren't the busiest, they're the most strategic. So stop glorifying busyness and start glorifying effectiveness instead. And remember that sometimes the smartest thing you can do is nothing at all. So I hope this episode has resonated with you. If it has, do share it with a friend who needs to hear this. And if you are enjoying Decoding Wisdom, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives on high performance and mindset. And as always, keep learning, keep pushing yourself, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.